Well, good evening, most beautiful sisters and brothers. My name is Zahid Makhdoom, as some of you know me, and I will be your humble servant for the next couple of hours, looking after the traffic here at the podium and this stage. I would like to acknowledge with respect and gratitude that I'm speaking, and we all are gathered here gratefully on the unceded lands of Semiahmoo and Katsi, Kwikwetlem, Kwantlen, Kekat, and Tawasan First Nations. And we as immigrants, as the visitors, as the guests in this area, we understand that, and we are very grateful that we have been afforded this privilege of being together and talking about people and things that matter to us the most. Chin was, of course, one of those friends, comrades, who was able to energize us and to, in many respects, define us for a very long time. We are very grateful for those opportunities to our First Nations friends and brothers. We are assembled here because Hari Sharma Foundation, an entity that was established in 2010, the year Vancouver had Olympics, we also had a very good Olympics, and that was creating Hari Sharma Foundation. That has been instrumental in helping us come together and talk about things that matter to us and that matter to the humanity as a whole. Hari Sharma Foundation was established as a consequence of a bequest left by a friend and a brother, the late Dr. Hari Sharma. The first president of Hari Sharma Foundation was Dr. Chinmoy Banerjee, the fellow that we celebrate today. Sadly, we are tonight celebrating his death, as he said, because at some point, some person, when we were sitting and chatting, said that Chin will pass on such and such a date. And he corrected, and he says that, no, I'm not going to pass. I'm not going anywhere. I'm dying. And you guys should recognize that. He was a materialist. He was a dialectical materialist. And he was a comrade. And he was a comrade of significant heft. Beyond his comradeship was also this tremendous friendship, this tremendous joy that he shared with all of us. He made us, or at least me as a very humble friend, lover and a student of Chin, I would say that at least he was able to cultivate me as a human person and to get nearer to my humanity. Chin started being active in this city during the early part of 70s with the great friends like Hari Sharma, Raj Chauhan. We have the privilege of his presence here. Harinder Mahal, we have the privilege of his presence here. Sadhu Singh, a great Punjabi poet and intellectual, and we have the presence, his presence here. Chin began at that time being active here, and they organized Ipana that eventually became Nirisad, known resident Indians for secularism and democracy. And after determining that non-resident Indians is not a representative moniker or a descriptor of the demographics of the organizations, because there were people like the great Abi Sharma who extorted money from you when you entered. And he's from Nepal. I'm from Sindh, which people say is in Pakistan. So we had to, make these arrangements and accommodate these strange entities that had crept into the body politics of non-resident Indians, because that was the only secular democratic organization in town. We had no choice but to join, and ever so grateful that with being part of that organization, that many of us learned so much, and are very thankful for that. I would like to acknowledge the friendship of some very important people. They were in Chin's life. We have Robin, Chin's spouse, who is currently not feeling well. Unfortunately, is not here. She lives in New Westminster, but she couldn't be here because of her physical circumstances. Chin has a son, an adult son, who lives somewhere in the valley. Anand, his name is. He's a wonderful person, but probably he's there somewhere because the water won't let him leave. Who knows what's going on with the valley. We thought that when the barge came at the Sunset Beach, that the God has sent the ark so that Noah, who is sitting right there, can fill it up with his choicest creatures and go away as this area becomes uninhabited. But hopefully we are still going to be around. Chin's daughter is Eden, Nandini, as we call her with affection, and he used to call her. She lives in St. John's, Newfoundland. She couldn't be here as well. She was present when Chin died. Anand was present when Chin died. Harinder was present, Harinder Mahel, when Chin died. Abi was there, and I was there when he left us. We're very grateful also to Chin's stepchildren, stepson Jack Ferry and Joshua Ferry. Chin has a grandson that he was very fond of, Max. He's Anand's son. Chin has the granddaughters, Maya and Alexandria. And I know during his last days, Chin was frantically looking at his books, figuring out which books he's going to send out to Maya, because she likes reading. Chin's sister, her name is Chitralekha Ghosh. She lives in Kolkata. We all call her, as Chin called her, Didi Bai, so she was everybody's Didi Bai. And she is a wonderful person, and we are very grateful to her for being part of Chin's life. His brother, Chinmoy Banerjee, who came to see Chin perhaps about 3-4 weeks, maybe a month before Chin died. And he was here with his wife for a couple of weeks. Very nice person. Him and his wife were there. So we would like to acknowledge these friends. Now, I'm not going to bore you further with my drone. I simply would like to also let you know all very respectfully that you all look so absolutely beautiful, and I'm very grateful to you for being here. I also would like to request you for one thing, that there is one ritual that in the secular get-togethers we perform, and that ritual is we reach out in our pockets, take out that thing that makes sounds, and muzzle those sounds, and cancel them at least for this little time. So shut your phones, please, if you are able to. Very grateful to you. We have with us a friend who has traveled from a long ways. David Barsemian, he is author, editor of many multiple books. He has educated us, lots of us who went to universities and studied social sciences. We're kind of grateful to David for helping us with such a wealth of material. He also is director of alternative radio, which has continued to broadcast and reach out to people all over North America for a very long time. David will be our keynote speaker, and I have a whole list of speakers. The reason we have these speakers, because we would like people to say things about Chin. Chin needs to be recognized as such. So I would like to, and this order of speakers is not, should not be construed as something determinant of who these, or the status of this. Everybody is important, and order is just for a kind of incompetent MC like myself to direct the traffic. I would like to request my beautiful sister, who has been with Chan and has done politics with him and have been an activist for a very long time. She's known as Supriya Bhattacharya, but affectionately we all know her as Moon Moonji. So, Moon Moonji.
Namaskar, good evening. I'm going to read a few pages from a memoir on behalf of Dr. Archana Dotto, who was a long friend of Chinmoy Da. And this is my honor, an honor to be here. And I feel, again, honored to have this opportunity to talk about Chinmoy Da. But before I start reading Archana's memoir, I just want to mention a few things that Chinmoy Da did for our local Bengali community. As you know, he was a big organizer. He had the ability to mobilize the community and lead very naturally. So he was one of the founding members of the first Bengali Cultural Society of BC, known as Lower Mainland Bengali Cultural Society. He helped write the constitution. And when that cultural group wanted to celebrate Durga Puja, there were a few people who said, no, we are cultural society and Durga Puja is basically worship of Durga, so we cannot perform religious and all that. But to everybody's surprise, Chinmoy Da, he did research and went through all the rules of Societies Act and all that. And he said Durga Puja is more a cultural thing for Bengalis than religion. And because of that, Bengalis celebrate Durga Puja here. And his last legacy, last year when we were all cooped up in our houses in pandemic, and I was serving the society as the president, he calls me And he says that, why don't we organize a series of webinars? It can be done from anywhere, sitting in the home. And he chose the topic. He guided me through in finding the scholars. And the topic was pre-colonial history of Bengal. And we had about 7 lectures by scholars from all over the world, and people attended, and they're all recorded. It's a resource for us, and that's his legacy in our local Bengali community. I'm going to read actually 3 pages from Dr. Archana Datta's memoir. It says, Chinmoy Banerjee, As I Remember, by Dr. Archana Datta. I sat down with my iPad and was thinking, how much do I know about Chinmoy? I have never called him by his popular name Chin, but by his full Bengali name Chinmoy, the conjugated name derived from Sanskrit, which meant full of soul, and he personified that name. In terms of time span, I knew him from May 1976, when he was a young English professor at SFU, till July 2020, when he was a professor emeritus who, till the end, kept his head high, mind clear, and remained active until he boldly chose to take his exit from the world with medical help. I cannot think of Chinmoy as a separate entity without connecting with Harida, Harinder, Zahid, Raj, Abi, Patricia, and others who were his intimate friends, both politically and socially. I first met Chinmoy, Aruna, little Anand, and Nandini at their Port Coquitlam home for a fabulous dinner soon after I arrived in Vancouver. Both Chinmoy and Aruna were great chefs, and the children, in true look, the elves. A perfect happy family, I thought. Eventually, I became a member of Chinmoy's and Aruna's political and social extended family, which included Harida, Harinder, Kulu, Raj, and Indu. During this time, I met other Indian immigrant families who worked very hard for their living, were trying to live lives with dignity, fighting racism, inequalities. The conversations and discussions in this group were very different from my academic environment in Saskatchewan that I was familiar with. I found them very refreshing. At Harida's Government Street Home gatherings, often there were discussions about racial tension, poor farming conditions, safety of Indian immigrant community. I witnessed in-depth discussions between Chinmoy and Harida about how to proceed with IPANA, BCOFR, and witnessed the formation of BC chapter of Farm Workers Union. Gradually, my protected identity as a city girl and then an academic started to change. I became aware that I too am an immigrant and therefore a subject of discrimination and prejudice. I started to take part in rallies and protests. I remember a public rally at the Memorial South Park in 1984. At that time, I was living in a basement suite with my daughter. Harida informed me about the rally and I joined. It was a big gathering. There were police cars. I saw commotion. Before I had chance to fathom what was happening, Lynn came running and told me that somebody in the crowd threw a rock that hit Chinmoy. Harida, Chinmoy, Harinder, Raj all wanted to remove the women out from the park. I remember the times at Harida's living room when we would sing in chorus some songs of protest like Hey Samalo, Dhan Go, and many other Hindi, Punjabi, and English songs. As recently as in 2019, if I remember correctly, Chinmoy, Harinder, Kulu, Indu, Abi, and I all sang those songs. Chinmoy had never disconnected himself from his Bengali background. He was the founding member of the Bengali Cultural Society. I came to know later that he was also a founding member of the Vancouver Weekly Georgia Straight. After Haridas' passing in 2010, Chinmoy, along with others, formed the Hari Sharma Foundation. He lately became interested in Sufi philosophy, searching inward peace. He understood that one common ground for people to connect is through films. So he founded South Asian Film Education Society. Chinmoy also had a strong, caring side. He was very attentive and caring to both his wives, 2 children, grandchildren, his friends' children, and his beloved big sister, commonly known as Didi Bhai. Didi Bhai visited her brother every few years and used to come and live with me for a few days. I'd also go to Chinmoy and Robin's place while Didi Bhai visited. During one of those visits, I saw a tempest in the teapot between the brother and the sister about what proportion of water need to be used to make fluffy basmati rice. While they were arguing, Robin nervously and I with much pleasure devoured Chinmoy's delicious chicken biryani. The same brother, the same sister, year 2018, place Vancouver. Chinmoy's vision has deteriorated further, and Didi Bhai was 80. Harindan and others had arranged a surprise party for Chinmoy and wanted Didi Bhai to attend. Didi Bhai too wanted to see her brother, maybe for the last time. Didi Bhai's adult children did not want her to travel, but with my encouragement and her determination, she did come and surprised Chinmoy. During that trip, on an outing with me in downtown Vancouver, Didi Bhai fainted on my arms. I thought she was having a heart attack. With the help of passers-by, the ambulance was called and she was taken to St. Paul's. To everyone's relief, it was not a heart attack, but just a spell of travel fatigue. Nonetheless, I nervously called Chinmoy. Without any extra word, he calmly said to just take a taxi and bring Didi Bhai to his apartment. This was another instance when I saw the patience and control in a man who personified his name and was full of soul. This is what Dr. Archana Datta's words are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Moon Munji. I'm very grateful to you. Chinda, amongst, we have heard so many things that happen. We used to go every year to Patricia and Martin's cabin. It's not a cabin. It's bigger than my apartment here in Vancouver. That's for sure. Yeah, everything is bigger than that notwithstanding, we used to go to their cabin every year, and we built it as a retreat for a South Asian Film Education Society, one of the entities that Chinda was instrumental in organizing. And he would cook his famous dal there, right? And the kitchen, there is one kitchen, and it was of a premium kind of a desire for people. Everybody wanted to have a piece of that kitchen so that they can make things. You know, Ashok and Tina would come, and they think that they are great cooks, and they would like to make something. I think that I'm a fairly good cook, so I would like to make something as well. And Patricia and Martin also, they have to show off, you know, some kind of a cooking. So, kitchen. Chinda will take over one burner and cook his wonderful dal and teach me how to make a good dal. And as a reward, I gave him a hand blender, which I thought is better than him continuing to work dal so that it becomes a little bit softer. But with hand blender, it's good. It's like sarkari kaam. You do fast, it's done. So, and those cooking lessons are pretty amazing. Now, I would like to request another friend of ours who has been a comrade for a very long time, and his contribution towards the ability of our Dalit sisters and brothers, ability to survive in this society with dignity and with honor that is due every person, is remarkable. He has been an activist for the rights of people of all sorts, but in particular those that not very many people talk about, our Dalit sisters and our brothers. And the brother that I'm talking about has been our comrade for a very long time. We love him dearly. It's Jay Bardi. Thank you. And I request you, all speakers, take a minute or two so that we can eat, right? It's entirely up to you, but if you want to eat in good time, be brief. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah. I too feel very honored, privileged to be here. I have mixed emotions because Brother Chin is not with us, but I am pleased the memories and the work Brother Chin has done is what's keeping us alive. As brothers I have said, I've known Brother Chin and other comrades since early 1990s. So it's been a few years. We talked about how Chin has influenced many of us. And one of the values that Brother Chin left a mark on me is the value of inclusion. I think the word inclusion and the value of inclusion has become a popular word these days. But Brother Chin, he started living it several years ago. How he made the value of inclusion live is that he brought the Dalit thinking to the forefront by amalgamating various organizations. He saw Chatna Association of Canada was doing good work. He saw that we had ad hoc partnerships with the University of British Columbia. We had partnerships with Simon Fraser universities, but these were fragmented. And he saw the opportunity, and he helped us to come together, and he launched Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Lecture, which is hosted every year. That's a big contribution of Brother Chin, because if he had not done this, some of the influence that we've been able to make to the policymakers, we probably would not have been able to get our message out. So there's a lot I can say. There's a lot that I can share, which I've learned. But I know this is a busy time. This is a time for us, all of us, to reflect and pay our respects to our brother. And one last thing I would like to say is that the value of inclusion, I don't think I'm the only one who has learned from it. Brother Harinder Mahil, his actions have also taught me what the value of inclusion means. As this event was being organized, a call was sent out asking people to let the organizers know whether or not they would like to say something. I didn't get a chance to respond, but Brother Harinder, you followed up. You gave me the opportunity and made sure that if I wanted to share my appreciation and respect, that I would do that. To me, that's inclusion. So you are also living up to the values that Brother Chin has taught us, and for that, I'm very grateful. And thank you. Let's all create an inclusive world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Very grateful to you for your beautiful words. Chin was, as we all know, that he was committed to the question of justice. And that includes the question of social justice. One of his last acts was to encourage us all to organize a West Coast council or committee against racism. It was not yet organized. A couple of people, Robert Hornsey in particular, we have the privilege of his beautiful presence right there, wearing this amazing T-shirt that he designed himself. And Camille, they took the mantle and they became really the heart and soul of this West Coast coalition, along with Sid Sinead, Samir Gandesha, who unfortunately is not feeling good, so he didn't come tonight. Same with Sid. He was supposed to be speaking, and he couldn't come. So very grateful to you, Brother Robert, for organizing this and for providing us leadership and leading us along towards building this coalition against racism here in Vancouver. I would like to now take a privilege of requesting another comrade, another friend. She has been in the struggle with us for a while, since longest that I have known her. And I would like to request Dr. Prabjot Parmar to come and remind us of a few things about Chin.
Thank you, Zahir Bhai. Hello, everyone. I'll be brief, and my aim is to stay under 2 minutes. So there'll be many people who knew Chinmoy and still know him better than I do. His family and close associates like Harinder Bhai, who have known him for over 40 years, or Vinod Bhai, who was with Chinmoy in college. So all that I cannot add to, you will hear from them, or you may have in past heard. And those who have attended other online meetings, I'll be repeating myself because what I have to say cannot be changed. It's only the way I present it may be different, which is Chinmoy, who otherwise would be like a fatherly figure to me, Hari Bhai and Chinmoy. I call them brothers because everyone called. I felt a bit awkward calling them uncles when I met them, but they were like fatherly figure to me, and they were mentors. I accidentally stumbled upon Nirsad because Saeed Mirza was over and had gone to watch Naseem. So I'm eternally grateful for that moment. How I remember Chinmoy is, besides activism and all that you have heard previously and will be hearing, is the love and affection. So that is my focus. Oh, hello, Prabjot. Hello. What love and affection, that is what kept me connected with Sansad and with Chinmoy, even when I left and then came back. That affection that came. Prabjot, he would call and say, Prabjot, we have to do something. Okay, Chinmoy, okay, I'll come. Even if I got delayed because of my employment, driving all the way from Abbotsford, East Abbotsford to downtown Vancouver. But just to see Chinmoy standing there by the door, and greeting and a big smile, oh, you have come. So that's how I remember him. And I'll share a couplet from a very popular song from the 70s, from a Hindi film. प्यार है एक निशान कदमों का जो मुसाफिर के बाद रहता है भूल जाते हैं लोग सब लेकिन कुछ ना कुछ तो याद रहता है. That love is something that remains, and after a person's gone, People forget many things, but something remains. So for me, both activism, please, Zahid bhai, both his activism and his love and affection, I'll always cherish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Truly grateful to you, Prabjot ji, very grateful. One of the causes that Chen was really very concerned about, and he always advocated about, he always talked about people of Palestine. And he always talked about the plight of Palestinian people, the genocide of Palestinian people, as one of the failures of morality on a global scale. He was very concerned. One of the comrades that we have been together, at least since '96 that I have been here, and he has been with us, but he has been here for a very long time, since early 70s, 60s, he has been advocating about Palestinian people, conscientizing us here about issues in Palestine, helping us understand the nature of colonialism and settler colonialism. His contribution is, I do not have sufficient words to express how much work this comrades had done, and I request Brother Hannah Khawas to come and say a few words.
Thank you, brother, for giving me this opportunity. I knew Chen way back in the 70s. He was one of the members of IPANA, Indian People's Association in North America. And, IPANA had an internationalist perspective. They joined with other third world peoples struggle in a coalition in the 70s that was called Third World People's Coalition, and IPANA was a member. I knew Chen and as a member, and then he became the president of IPANA later on. First was Hari Sharma, and actually the person who used to represent IPANA in the coalition, Third World People Coalition, the TWPC, was Hari Sharma. So this group had, as I said, and again I repeat, an internationalist perspective. And that's what we need now, because internationalism is a key condition for our liberation, all of our liberation. Look at the enemy camp, the imperialists. They are all united in our oppression and suppression. Look at the ties between the regime in India and Israel. Look at the ties between them and the United States. Anyway, this is another issue, but it is important that to say here from this podium, Chen was an internationalist person, and he supported the struggle of all peoples for their liberations. And that's why we are really grateful, because he supported the Palestinian cause. Actually, lately, he was, we saw him at many of our events as Canada-Palestine Association. International Day of Solidarities, even picketing the wine, the BC liquor store for carrying Israeli wines. He was with us. He was with us. He put younger people to shame. He put Palestinian people, young and old, to shame, because when he can, he was always there. He was always there for the Palestinian cause. And some of you mentioned the BC, the West Coast Coalition Against Racism. He was instrumental in drafting the Basis of Unity. He was behind that mainly, and he invited me to join, and I did join because I respected him, respected all his work and all his struggle. He was instrumental in adding Zionism as a form of racism to that Basis of Unity. For people, you could check it on our website, the West Coast CAR. The Basis of Unity is there, and as I said, Zionism was a form of racism as any other racism. White supremacism, the racism against black people, racism against indigenous people, all of those are supremacist ideology, and they are racist. And he made sure to point that out. One last thing I'd like to say, in the name of Canada-Palestine Association, we are grateful to what Chin did. His memory will stay with us forever. And I urge you to support his last work. That is the West Coast Coalition Against Racism, because it is an important organization that will lead us to liberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Hannah, for your inspiring message. Very thankful to you. I simply would like to tell you that Abi took your money not just to serve you and provide you a couple of naans and a little bit of dal, and that will be okay. There is really good wine there that you can help yourself to, and you don't have to pay any extra money, because Abi extorted every single penny that was needed to be extorted from you. There is a red wine and a white wine. They both are sourced from non-imperialist countries. And they are tasty. Tasty and a non-imperialist, it's a great combination. So help yourself, and they will give you a glass, 2 glasses, 3, whatever you wish to drink. But don't drive afterwards, all right? It will not be a good idea. I would like to also, at this point, request a beautiful friend. Amazing friend. They are a couple there, but one of them is going to be doing something musical for us, and it's the other person who will share the feelings and words with us. The other ones will also share feelings, because music is basically a conglomeration of multiples of feelings. But this person, her name is Patricia. She has been a comrade for a very long time. I think they were at some point maybe even students of Hari Sharma at some point, and but who knows? She's a wonderful comrade. Has always opened their home to us for a variety of activities, mostly subversive activities, and also allow us to have this retreat annually at their place at Lake Tunkwa. I'm talking about Dr. Patricia Gruben.
Well, I'm used to being upstaged by Zahid, but I've never been upstaged by a set of curtains before. But I do have to mention, because Zahid has talked about our cabin a couple of times, and he also spoke of his immersion blender. We had to bring in a generator to power that blender, as I remember. because we only have a sad little solar panel to run the cabin. But anyway, it was worth it for that doll. I met Chin through Hari Sharma, probably in the mid-'80s, but it wasn't until we started the Hari Sharma Foundation and also Safez, I think shortly before that, that I really got to understand how much energy, how much creative and also organizational energy Chin had that drove so many different kinds of organizations and groups and movements in the city. And so I know that we all miss him for many different reasons, but that's part of it. One thing that struck me at the end of his life was the last thing he wanted to hear was Lewis Carroll's poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter. And I was not there. Zahid, Abi, and Harinder, I think, were there. And so I have puzzled over why that poem, why was that the last thing he wanted to hear? It's from Lewis Carroll's book, Through the Looking Glass, which I read when I was probably 10 or 11 or 12. And I thought of it as a child's book. I thought of it as a kind of absurdist piece of doggerel. But knowing the depth of Chin's scholarship as an English professor, I thought there must be more to it than that. So I started doing some research and found that one scholar called it a satirical anti-Darwinian critique. Another compared the walrus to Buddha and the carpenter to Jesus Christ. Others have mentioned European imperialism, social Darwinism, speciesism in the way that the little oysters in the poem are portrayed as childlike and innocent victims. Clearly, it's an absurd poem, like the most famous lines, which I'm sure many of you know. "The time has come," the walrus said, "to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings." So on the one hand, it's we can see it as a piece of comical, childish nonsense. On the other hand, maybe there's something to these issues of the walrus and the carpenter who lure the little oysters out onto the beach for an outing, for a picnic, and ultimately the oysters discover that the picnic involves them. They think they're special, they're singled out. Only 4 of them are chosen at first. Ultimately, though, they all get devoured. And meanwhile, the walrus is coming up with these sentimental rationales for eating them, while the carpenter is just devouring them without a word. And the walrus has these platitudes of self-deception. "A loaf of bread," the walrus said, "is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar, besides, are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed." "But not on us," the oysters cried, turning a little blue. "After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do." "The night is fine," the walrus said. "Do you admire the view?" And so I think it can be seen that the poem has perhaps some kind of critique of imperialism and colonialism within it. But who can say, because it's both things at the same time. At the end, the walrus says, "I weep for you," the walrus said. "I deeply sympathize." With sobs and tears, he sorted out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes. And at the end of the poem, the little oysters are all gone. And the walrus and the carpenter are finally satisfied. So perhaps the scholarly analysis pales against the way that John Lennon took the poem as an inspiration for his song, "I Am the Walrus," which he wrote in response to a high school English student writing him and saying that their English class was analyzing his lyrics to find out the meaning hidden in them. And so Lennon decided to write something that was completely absurd and meaningless and could never be analyzed. So I think when I think of Chin and why did he pick this poem, and I still don't know, I think what he really, understood as a scholar and as a great lover of literature and film was that something can be meaningful and absurd at the same time. And I think we know all this from our own lives and our own experience. And it's one of the many things that I'll remember about Chin is that appreciation he had for the ridiculousness of his own existence.
Really grateful to you, Sister Patricia. One of the things that Chin wanted to do when he was checking out, he asked Nandini, his beautiful daughter, to recite this poem, Walrus and the Carpenter, as he moves on. And Nandini had this on her cell phone. And she was reading, and then her cell phone got stuck, as cell phones usually do, right? So once it got stuck, Chen is still looking at her, those painful few seconds of pause. And then he thought that, no, that phone is not coming back. So he started reciting the rest of the poem and finished it. That's who Chen was. I mean, he remembered every word of that poem, the very last moments that he was living with us. I think Brother Hannah talked about internationalism, a very crucial, very important aspect of our struggle. We do not struggle for bringing better life to one community or one people. It's for all of us. We all are together on this earth, and we have to live a better life in a just and a fair circumstances. That West Coast coalition against racism that was put together is a very important aspect and a step towards realizing that vision of internationalism. We have, as I had already invoked and I talked in vain, I must say, about Brother Robert, who is present here. I would like to request him to say a few words at least. And show off that T-shirt.
Yes, I will. Yeah. The first thing I would like to say is you've all been more thoroughly involved with Chin through his life than I have, and I'm speechlessly humbled just to be amongst you as extensions of Chin. Zahid was saying, show off your shirt. Okay, so I knew that Chin in the end had wanted to wear his Charlie Chaplin shirt, so I made this up. This is Charlie Chaplin, and it says, Chin, you'll be remembered forever. Charlie Chaplin. Our brother Sid couldn't be here today. Sid Schneid had his COVID shots, and him and his wife are very sick following that. So I just wanted to read out what he said because it fits all this too. He says, "Good evening, friends. I feel privileged to participate in this evening honoring our friend and comrade Chin Banerjee. I knew and worked with Chin for nearly 40 years. Our joint efforts back to the days of the BC Organization to Fight Racism, which was established in the early 80s in response to the rise of the KKK in British Columbia. Ever since that time, Chin was active in countless social justice struggles, playing a constructive role in doing the hard work necessary to make such struggles successful. Throughout, he always exhibited enormous integrity and provided honest, constructive criticism along the way. In addition to being a dedicated activist, he was an inspiring professor of English literature at Simon Fraser. According to our daughter, Joanna, Chin was the best professor that she had in the entire time she studied at SFU. Despite experiencing a health crisis that required serious convalescence, Chin maintained his active participation in organizing and promoting social justice. One of the last things he worked to create was a new organization that is now known as the West Coast Coalition Against Racism, or WCCAR, to respond to the frightening growth of racism in BC. In conclusion, I would like to suggest that the best tribute we can give Brother Chin would be for all of you to join us in making the WCCAR a highly effective force in combating the racism that is rearing its ugly head in BC today. So that's from our brother Sid Schneid. And just from myself, what I would say is that I really hadn't talked to Chin in more than 30 years. But when I saw what was happening internationally about the rise of fascism and white supremacy, and all driven by colonial exploitation of people and resources, it just seemed intolerable. And this was the reasons that the BCOFR was formed. And so I phoned Chin and I said, Chin, this is Rob Hornsey. I know we haven't talked in 30 years, but I need to talk to you. And just as other people were saying, he was so welcoming, just like we just met yesterday. He said, Brother Robert, how are you? What are you doing? And this was after 30 years not talking. And the reason I phoned Chin was because of all of you and the way that he was able. He never spoke anything that was not connected to action, to organizing, and to education. You are all testimony to why I phoned him. He was the one person in my entire life. I've lived in 6 provinces, all 3 of the Arctic regions, worked in all those areas. He's the one person that I knew I could count on to immediately step to action. And the West Coast Coalition Against Racism was his, really, and I didn't know that he had picked today to pass to the great beyond, but the week before he actually left us, he phoned me and he said, okay, do we have the agenda straight for our next meeting? Yes, brother, we do. Thanks for being such an organizer. And thank you for being products of the fellowship of our comrade Chin. He will live on.
Thank you, Brother Robert. Thank you so much. Thank you, beautiful Brother Robert. Very grateful to you. One of the comrades who has been with us for a while now is from Punjab area of Pakistan, because Punjab, unfortunately, was divided by the imperialists to go to 2 different countries. So he's a Punjabi brother, a great communist, I call him. He's the one person. We both were members of the same party called the Communist Party of Pakistan when we were young, and we were kicked out, and we are here. So here is, I would like to request Dr. Saif Khalid to come and enlighten us about what he knows about Chin.
Well, when I think about Chin, There are a lot of things come to my mind. But while people have spoken on a lot of things, I will just touch on one or two things. What inspired me meeting Chen and affiliating with him is a great motivational skill and organization skill. And he will always be looking to do something. That's his activism. All the time. Sometimes we and Shahzad will say, yeah, okay, Chinda, it's busy time, let's do this. And because summertime, me and Shahzad, we were really busy in the field work. So he said, no, we can do it. We can find time, we can do it. So he will motivate people. That's the great quality of Chinda. And he continued to do all those things till the very end. I remember it was 2015 or 17, I think 17, 18, we started organizing with Fauzi Rafiq, Chinda, and Committee of Progress of Pakistani Canadian, Pakistani Women's Hero. That was, I think, 2020, 19, something like that. It took 2 years to us to organize. And Chinda was not in very good shape. But he was tremendously all the time guiding us, motivating us. And at the final stage, unfortunately, I had to leave Canada to go outside. He took all the responsibility and made it sure that things goes very well, and it did go very well. The people liked it, and it was very well appreciated. And other things, small thing, it's not, well, there are so many things I can talk about Chinda, that he can inspire young people. That is most important for me, because all of us sitting here, most of us, I mean, who are becoming senior, already you are senior. So what to take the cause further is very important that younger people come to and join us, so we can show them the way, motivate them, and they can carry us the torch we're trying to bear, and taking humanity to a future which all human beings can live dignified life, and a progress that would be a progress for all the humanities. Yeah, that was, I think, the Chinda's contribution. All his life, he was always doing something till his very last. I had a chance to travel with him, spend a few days with him outside Vancouver. So he was always, whenever we talk, even a layer mood, we're drinking, sitting down, he will, even then, while talking to, layer mood, he will always bring something very academic, and discussion will take another shape. Very enlightening and very educating that discussion will become. And at the end, everybody will be happy. And finally, well, last time it was 2015-16, me, Zahid, Chinda, and another friend, Janan, who were coming back from Merit site. So on the way, we were laughing, chatting with Zahid, and we declare that from now on, we will call Chinda Chairman Chinda. So we called him. After that, we start calling him among the friends Chairman Chinda. So long ding Chairman Chinda. So we will try to carry your torch. Thank you.
Yeah, that was quite fun. The first time, and it was an event we were having with a great comrade, a friend from Kashmir, Sanjay Kak. He was visiting, and he was making a keynote speech. And we had a big hall booked at SFU. And I was introducing Chinda, and I had a difficulty. I said, what to focus upon and what to talk about? He's chairman of everything that we do, and we are very grateful to him for doing that. So, and Arundhati Roy was sitting there too, in the front row. So I said that, we know Chin affectionately as Chairman Chin. And that's who he was. He was really, to tell you the truth, that again, about Lake Tonkwar, that every year that we went there, I was a chauffeur. My duty was to pick him up from his apartment, take him there, enjoy, have his dal, and then after 2 days bring him back home. And in the meanwhile, that entire drive, we will have conversation. And once he started talking with me about my experience in Pakistani prison in 1971, and I was talking about that, and I looked at him, and he was tearing up, and he says that, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you were 16 and you had to endure all of that." And that kind of, for me, he was not only a comrade, he was a big brother. He was so many things to a person like me that this has been more than almost a year and a half that he's gone. I miss him. I see him every day because that's who he was. Thank you. Well, would like to now request my beautiful brother, a comrade who has, to tell you the truth, after Chinda's death, people like me went into deep depression. But this one person, who probably because of his deep-seated trade unionist kind of ethos that he lived through, survived and kept us all together and has been, up until now, performing that role, that those 5 o'clock in the morning emails that Chin used to send. Now this guy is sending us, and 5 in the morning you hear a ping, that is Harinder's email about reminding you of something. And Harinder's contribution also with Chin is very significant when we talk about anti-racism and we talk about rights of peasants and workers and in this area and throughout Canada. I would like to request my beloved brother, Harinder Mahil.
Thank you, Zahid. I met Chin in December 1975. He had returned from India. He was a prof, as all of you know, at SFU. He had taken a year off. And he actually was hoping that he would stay in India on a permanent basis. When he was there, Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared a state of emergency, and thousands of people who were critical of her government were imprisoned. All civil liberties were curtailed. Chin, at that point, decided that although he was connected to India, his destiny, his path remained in Canada. I had the pleasure of working with him in Indian People's Association North America. This was the organization that Hannah talked about. Chin was one of the leaders of IPANA. That's where I met Hannah. He may not remember me. I was one of the junior IPANA members in those days. Hari was a senior one, Chin second ranked, and I was somewhere, one of the ones who would be sent in case Chin and Hari were not available. And I remember Hannah, Third World People's Coalition was a great organization. And Chin had something to do with it, Hari had something to do with founding that organization. Then we worked to form the BC organization to fight racism that Rob talked about and Zahid talked about. We worked together to support the formation of the Canadian Farm Worker Union, and that was in 1980. Then we worked together and founded the Non-Resident Indians for Secularism and Democracy, which eventually became South Asian Network of Secularism and Democracy, and Prabjot Parmar is the president of Sansad now. In 2010, I worked with Chin to establish the Hari Sharma Foundation. Somewhere in between those years, we founded the South Asian Film Education Society. So at one point, Chin was president of Sansad, Hari Sharma Foundation, and the Film Society, and that's where Zahid gave him the name Chairman Chin, because he was our leader in all aspects of our lives. A wonderful man. Chin was more than a political friend. He was a brother. We not only met in meetings, of course I dreaded getting telephone calls from him because I knew anytime he called me, he would say, "Haan bhai Harinder." That meant he had a job for me to do. And every now and then Kulu would say, "That's Chin, don't answer the call." But I did. I say that he was a brother and a friend. We went to each other's houses, we visited families. We went on some trips together. And some of you already talked about emails at 4:30, 5 o'clock. There wasn't a single day I didn't receive 2 or 3 emails from him on a daily basis. Chin and his wife Robin, myself and my wife Kulu, we took our first trip about 15 years ago. We went to Rajasthan, we went to South India. Since then, we took 2 European cruises. That's about 10 years ago. Our last trip was to Budapest and Prague, about 5 years ago. At each one of those trips, he would find something historical. And I forget now whether it's Budapest and Prague. He arranged a day trip to a place, the name escapes me now. This is where Jews were brought in by the Germans before they were sent off to the gallows. My gosh, what a trip, what a visit. It was an eye-opener for us. There's not a single day I don't think about him. Like Zahid, he's with me. On his last day, I was a bit emotional, and he wasn't. And he asked me, he said, "Why are you being emotional?" I said, "Chin, because you're leaving us." He said, "No, I'm not leaving you. I'm going to be with you. Anytime you need me, I'll be there." So anytime we have something to do, I think about what would Chin do in this situation. In 1942, B.R. Ambedkar, also known as Baba Saheb Ambedkar, gave a slogan: educate, agitate, organize. Chin truly believed in this slogan. He believed that change can only be brought about by educating, agitating, and organizing. And by now you've heard, one of the last acts that he the last organization he founded was West Coast Coalition Against Racism. And that was barely a few weeks before he died. I'm glad that some of the activists from the organization are here today. Chin truly leaves behind a legacy of activism in the service of mankind. The day before he died, his grandson Max called him and found out how sick Chin was. And rather than talking about himself, Chin talked about how one has to serve others. I remember his words, which Max will never forget for the rest of his life. He said, "Son, no one remembers when you work for yourself. People remember if you do something for somebody else." And I'm sure Max is going to remember that for the rest of his life. Chin inspired many of us to fight for a better world, a world of secular democracy and human rights, and his example and inspiration lives on. Chin, you are indeed with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are very grateful that one of the friends, comrades, who has inspired us, actually inspired many of us, towards becoming active to help people realize the goal of a good life. And the goal of good life is crucial. We have a life, and we have an obligation to make that life better, not only for our own selves, but better for everyone else. And one of the young men at that time that I had met in perhaps 1983 or 84 in Toronto, who came to attend this conference that was organized as a follow-up to the Royal Commission report on the issue of visible minorities in Canada. And the report that came out was called Equality Now. And the person who was representing British Columbia's working class and trade unions and farm workers union was this incredibly inspiring character, wonderful human being, beautiful friend, and a beautiful brother, Raj Chauhan.
Well, first of all, I want to say, if Chin was here today, he would have been the happiest person on this planet to hear that the farmers in India have won their struggle. That Inqilab Zindabad, indeed. That struggle, which, like before that started, many of us who are sitting in this room, we are kind of feeling hopeless about what's happening in India for the last many, many years. With the fascistic tendency that we have seen led by this current government. And people felt that human rights, workers' rights, forget about it, is a thing of past. When this government brought those 3 black laws to curtail the freedom, the economic freedom, and everything of farmers, farmers started this struggle. And I'm so proud to say that. It was led in such a way, because it was huge. It was not just in Punjab. It was every corner of India and also worldwide. So that leadership, that discipline will lead India for a better India for many years to come. So I want to say congratulations to all of you. I also want to say on behalf of our group, to say thank you to the trade union movement in Canada, in British Columbia, for their support for us to publicize the struggle of farmers in India. BC Federation of Labor, Canadian Labour Congress, and all other affiliates. So thank you very much, and we are looking forward to continue to get their leadership to guide us. I just want to say this. I was introduced to Epana, to Hari, by Harinder in 1975. And shortly thereafter, I had the fortune to meet with Chin. Harinder said, you know, we dreaded some of the calls that we got from Hari and Chin, because every time they called, we knew that we have some task to do. And every time I spoke with Chin and I said, Chin bhai, can we do this? Or the first question you say, why? So you have to be ready to explain why you want it. And that led us to do good things in our lives. He was an amazing personality. When we formed the Canadian Farm Workers Union, he was there. Sarvan will remember it. Sadhu Wills, Makhan, Harinder, of course. Chin was the guiding light. And I also remember when I first joined Epana in the 70s, we go to Hari's house, and within a few minutes, there would be a dialogue, or I call debate, between Hari and Chin. And we will just sit there in awe that people can talk like that. It was just really beautiful. And you know, it helped us to develop ourselves, to grow, you know, where we were, and it helped us to get me where I am today. And he was the light that guided us and will continue to guide. His words, doesn't matter if he was, what organization he was, his word is that help others. If we help others, we will make this world beautiful. That's what it is all about. So Jahaz Bhai, I took more than 2 minutes, but you know, I was thinking briefer than you. Thank you.
He's so wonderful and so modest. Well, we have come to the conclusion of the first portion, but there is one more speaker. Before I request this speaker to come up, here is your chance. If you wish to say a word or two, come up and say, or as they say, hold your peace. Well, seeing that no hand has gone up, I would like to request a brother, a friend, a comrade, a teacher, once again, a teacher, a person who has consistently taught us. And those of us who dabble in this art form of social science research, this fellow's work has genuinely gave us incredible range of materials to work with. Whether you are working on the rights of the Palestinian people and you would like to know how Edward Said will talk about them, or you are talking about the rights of the tribals in India and want to know how Arundhati Roy will talk about them, whether you are talking about the rights of Kashmiris and would like to say how Sanjay will talk about them, whether you want to talk about the plight of democracy in the so-called Western democracies, and the control over our voices and what we hear. If you want to know more of a Chomsky, you go to this person. And I am obviously talking about David Barsamian, a wonderful comrade and a friend from Boulder, Colorado. Thank you.
Wal salam. Inqilab zindabad. Khawateen o Hazrat, Khush Amadid, Swagatam, welcome. It's great to see you all here. What an honor it is to be part of this celebration and tribute to what they call in US sports a difference maker. You know, teams have one player that, you know, all the players are good. If you've reached that level, let's say of professional hockey or football or baseball, but there's one player that is outstanding, and he's called the difference maker. And Chinmoy Banerjee was a difference maker. He was, as Edward Said paid tribute to his friend, Iqbal Ahmed, a friend to all the world, from Kim. And we're thinking now about, you know, how lucky we were to have him as a friend, as a mentor, as a beacon of inspiration. But I think, you know, if he is still with us today, and the work must go forward. It's, you know, it's good to look in the rearview mirror, but I'm thinking about what can we do today to promote and to propel further the values that guided Chin and were so important to him. Reference was made to the incredible victory of farmers in India by Raj, truly against all odds. But what did we learn from this victory? That perseverance counts, that solidarity counts, that unity counts. And the brave farmers, mostly of Punjab, but also of neighboring Haryana, also of Uttar Pradesh, of Himachal Pradesh, even as Rajasthan, they came together and didn't give up. Even though all the mechanisms of so-called democracy in the world's largest democracy, which is a kind of a joke at this point, were against the farmers. Everything, they were hosed down with water cannons, beaten, hundreds were killed. The latest figure is 700. It may be even more. And so what did we learn? Why did Modi and Amit Shah and the other thugs that control the regime in Delhi, why did they give in? They gave in because of people power, because of perseverance, because I'm sure, as in all groups, there were enormous differences within those groups. Oh, you know, I can't talk to this person, she doesn't know who Gramsci is, or I can't talk to this person, he doesn't read Ghalib's poetry or anything. You know, we can always find something to nitpick. We can always find someone or something to point out to divide us. And those divisions, of course, play right into the hands of power. They sow divisions, and we need to find common ground. Right now here, and you know, I'm not going to lecture you as a US person. You have your own problems in Canada. We have our own problems in the United States with African Americans, with Native Americans. But you know, just here in Canada the other day, the First Nations of the Wet'suwet'en people were attacked by heavily armed RCMPs, troops, I would call them troops, with helicopters and attack dogs, you know, treating Canadians as kind of, you know, original Canadians, First Nations, as kind of an occupied force. So we have to find, you know, common ground and link up those struggles, as Hannah articulated earlier. It's very important to know what is going on in Palestine, what is going on in Kashmir, what is going on in Western China with the Uyghur Muslim minority. What about the Rohingya who were kicked out of Myanmar, the former Burma? There's instance after instance of human rights violations. We have to be engaging with those groups and finding common ground. Because, it's the one thing that Stephen Biko of South Africa used to say, it's the one thing that oppressors want is to control the mind of the oppressed. And we have to decolonize ourselves from ideas that we may have about gender, about race, about class, and overcome those handicaps, to find common ground. There was a great American revolutionary, African-American revolutionary, Frederick Douglass. Let me read to you what he said. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom, yet deprecate agitation, are men and women who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the roar of its mighty waters. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. That is the lesson of struggle. That is the lesson of resistance. It is not, we cannot wait for someone in Ottawa or in Washington, D.C., or Paris, or London, to wake up and deliver us to the promised land of freedom and equality and justice. It has to come. Every movement in this continent and elsewhere has always come from the bottom up, from people agitating, from people saying, basta, enough. We've had enough of your tyranny and your oppression, and particularly of your hypocrisy. When you talk about human rights, in faraway places where they, U.S., I have to tell you as a U.S. person, how embarrassing it is sometimes to be an American, a U.S. person. But, the U.S. lecturing the world about human rights when in broad daylight our young people are being shot in the back multiple times, and the shooters are then, if they happen to be white, in an era where white supremacy is increasing, then the shooter is exonerated and celebrated and being honored as some kind of hero. This is, really a twisted mindset at work here, where you have these kinds of, absolute, outrageous things going on. And what's going, discovering here a little connection between Kashmir and Canada, unmarked graves, disappeared people. Where are they? Who are buried in these graves? How did they get there? Who is responsible? Thousands of lives lost. So there are, connections, and we should connect. What happened in 1947 in Punjab and in Kashmir, 1948 in Palestine, two linked events. And there was, as was pointed out, Israel is a stalwart supporter of Hindutva, of the regime in Delhi of Modi and Amit Shah and the others of this BJP party, which can only be described as a fascist party. We have to speak clearly. This is the lesson of George Orwell, not to mince words, to use language precisely. The BJP is a fascist formation. It believes in the superiority of one group over another group, and it is trying to create an ideology in South Asia, in India, that is exclusionary and not at all inclusive. So we see the double standards held out to the great people in Washington and in Ottawa and elsewhere. What can we do today? Finding solidarity, as I mentioned, finding points of contact, and supporting them. But not just with your checkbooks, which is important. We all need money, organizations need money, but also with your engagement, with your activism, finding a group where you feel comfortable that espouses your values and becoming part of that group. Because, Margaret Mead was a great US sociologist in the 1930s and 40s, and she once said, throughout human history, it's always been small groups of people that have changed history when they got together. And those small groups, when those few farmers set out from Amritsar and Chandigarh and Jalanpur and other parts of Punjab, when they came to the gates of Delhi and were blocked by the police, by the security forces of the Indian state, many more joined them. And it became bigger and bigger until it became a power that was too difficult to resist. And that's why the regime capitulated to their demands. But this is a very, I would say, sinister and opportunistic and tricky group that is controlling the government in Delhi. So you have to be aware of what is going on, because this may just be a temporary concession until they reorganize themselves and put the right spin on things, probably using the terrorist card or calling them Taliban, which is now a word of dismissal. And you're, of course, supposed to be against the Taliban. So just be aware of that possibility. Now, I think also, on a personal note, I've had a great difficulty this year. My own teacher succumbed to COVID, as well as his son. I'm talking about Pandit Debu Chaudhary, Sitar Nawaz, a great musician with whom I studied. And I'm still mourning that loss, as well as the loss of his son, who was only 49. This is, again, under a regime which has deliberately obscured the actual number of people that have died in India. It's well beyond the so-called official figure. And so what I've done this evening is I've brought a couple of CDs, one of my teacher, Debu Chaudhary, playing Raga Marwa, and the other CD is a program featuring Jyoti Ghosh, a radical Indian economist, woman, very forceful, very brilliant, someone Chinmoy Banerjee would have adored. And she teaches at JNU as well as University of Massachusetts at Amherst. I brought those CDs. If you'd like them, I'm happy to give them out to you. And if you don't have a CD player, I can send you an MP3. But see me after. Sorry for that little commercial break. But it was sad. I was really brokenhearted at what happened with Debuda. You may not know that I've been banned from India since September 23rd, 2011. And that was not by this regime. You would think, well, it must have been Modi, right? Must have been Amit Shah. No, it was the so-called Progressive Alliance of Manmohan Singh and Chidambaram. So I'm still prevented from returning to India, and of course it broke my heart that I couldn't be near my Guruji to say goodbye to him in his last days. I think also art is really important. Music, film, documentary film, cinema, novels, we can learn a lot. And of course, in any gathering of South Asia, Shairi, poetry is very, very important. So one of the great poets of South Asia, of Pakistan, Sialkot, to be precise, is Faiz Ahmed Faiz. He deserves everyone, I tell everyone in this country and in the United States, they should know who Faiz Ahmed Faiz is. Rarely has there been such a giant on the world literature scene that has made such an impact. And even today, I mean, when you go to demonstrations all over, not just India and Pakistan, but even in Bangladesh, I don't know about Nepal, Yeah, Nepal also, you see placards holding up bowl. Bowl, what's that? It's the imperative of to speak. And it's one of Faizz's greatest poems. It's recited. Tina Sani has a wonderful version of that poem. You know, bol ke lab azad hai tere, bol zaban ab tak teri hai. You know, speak, your lips are free. Speak, your tongue is still yours. Speak, your life is still yours. Speak, there is little time. But little though it is enough time. Enough before the body perishes, before the tongue atrophies. Speak, the truth still lives. Say what you have to say. Speak, your lips are free. Bowl, bowl, bowl. And I was thinking of another little couplet. You know, whenever you are at an event like this, you're thinking about your own mortality too, right? We're next. I'm next. I'm 76. I'm closer to the end than to the beginning. Some of you are even older than I am. And so we think, you know, char din ki zindagi phir andheri raat. You know, we're just here for 4 days, char din, and then we're gone. What are we going to do in those 4 days we are in this planet? I think, as was suggested, the struggle for justice, for equality, for equity, is the great work of humankind on earth. And we should, you know, try to, as much as possible, further that during this very brief moment we're on this planet. And then, bas, khalas, we're gone, right? And then, you know, another great poem is, and maybe we'll hear it later, is Hum Dekenge, another one by Faiz, was an incredible revolutionary poem about, you know, we will see the future. This is a poem written directly in face of the dictatorship of Zia-ul-Haq, you know, who did so much to create this kind of Talibanization of Pakistan. The courage that Faiz had, and others, and Iqbal Ahmed that I mentioned earlier as well. But I'm going to close. That's an applause line. Finally, right? Bahut zyada baat kiya, na? I want to quote from a revolutionary woman, a fantastic human being, a dear friend and inspiration of mine, Arundhati Roy, who has done so much for the people of South Asia and the world, I would say. This is a couple of things that she said. We can't talk about hope until we grasp reality. If we don't grasp reality, then everything we do is useless, because we are appealing to a system that can't be appealed to. It is disheartening, but once we understand the paradigm of power, then we can begin to act to challenge it and change that power system. But that requires a clear understanding of where we are. It's late in the game, but there is still time. Fortunately, Arundhati says, power has a shelf life. When the time comes, maybe this mighty empire, the United States, will, like others before it, overreach itself and implode from within. It looks as though structural cracks have already appeared. She wrote this 20, 25 years ago. Look at those structural cracks today. Look at Afghanistan, look at Syria, look at Libya. Look wherever US imperialism has stepped on those countries and the disasters that have ensued. Look for the continued entrapment and occupation of Palestine. And finally, Arundhati says, going back to the walrus, the time has come, the walrus said. Perhaps things will get worse and then better. Perhaps there's a small God up in heaven readying herself for us. Another world is not only possible, she's on her way. Maybe many of us won't be here to greet her, but on a quiet day, I get very emotional when I read this because it's just so beautiful, the sentiment. But on a quiet day, if I listen very carefully, I can hear her breathing. And I hope you, dear brothers and sisters, on a quiet day can also hear her breathing. Thank you.
Really grateful to you, Brother Barsamian, not only for saying those beautiful words and reminding us of what Sister Arundhati says, but to traveling from Boulder, Colorado, negotiating PCR. Who the heck knows what is PCR? But this man, yesterday I took him for a test. They shoved something up his nose, and today they say to him that he's okay. To travel back to his own country, right, to be with his own family. But we are going to stop now for a few minutes. The deal is this, that faster you eat, more you will consume, or less you will consume, and you will be able to come back sooner to listen to this amazing music program that we have. Now, there is a kink that has been added on to that music program. That kink was hitherto unavailable, was not there, but there have been text messages coming in asking me to sing a song from Faiz, which I will sing. And of course, your kids are not here. I'm so grateful for that. So nobody will be terrorized. But you will be, you can cover your ears if you so desire. But then afterwards, there are two incredible programs that we have. We have Dr. Martin Godfrey and his beautiful son Noah, the keeper of the barge at the beach, to relate to us what they have come out reflecting about Chinda. And their rendition is simply phenomenal. Followed by an incredible band. If you are fans of India Summer Festival, and if you remember the opening band that put the festival back on track this year is a band called Lady Jams. And we are privileged to have the presence of the Lady Jams, Sejal, our beloved Sejal, and our beloved Missy D, and our beloved David Taylor, who is going to join them on guitar. So eat fast, come back soon. Thank you. Well, welcome back. Before I say anything else, I would like to express a great deal of gratitude to Jim Kalsi, the owner of this establishment, for allowing us this opportunity to meet here. Very grateful to him, and above all, I would like to express gratitude to Gurpreet, aka Gary Binning, who is standing there, and he's the one who organized this whole thing and helped us put together this whole evening. Very grateful to you, Brother Gurpreet ji. Thank you. And to all your staff who have done a marvelous job in helping us out. What we are going to do is start, as I have been told, and it doesn't take long to twist my arm to get me to sing Faiz, because singing Faiz is like an affirmation of one's faith. Faiz taught us all a great deal, as Brother Davis was talking about, bowl. I'm not singing bowl although I would like to assure him that next time when he comes, we will all sing Bol in chorus. And that will maybe make him very happy. Yeah, and please lower your volumes as you are having conversation. Nobody is stopping you from doing that. And the nazm I am singing is called Shishon Ka Masiha Koi Nahi. There is no Messiah for glasses. When a glass is broken, it is broken and you cannot put it together.
जो टूट गया जो हो टूट गया सो छूट गया कब वशकों से जुड़ सकता है जो टूट गया सो छूट गया हाँ मोती हो के शायद कहीं शायद के इन्हीं टुकड़ों में कहीं शायद के इन्हीं टुकड़ों में कभी वो सागर दिल था जिसमें कभी सदनाज से उतरा करती थी साहिबाए गमे जाना की परी फिर दुनिया फिर दुनिया वालों ने तुमसे ये सागर ले कर फोड़ दिया जो मैं थी बहा दी मट्टी में महिमा का शहर पर तोड़ दिया तुम नाक अलोड़े मियाँ तुम नाक टुकड़े चुन चुन कर दामन में छुपा हा 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 बैठे हो सब शीशे सागर ला लोग हर सब शीशे सागर हाँ हाँ सब शीशे सागर लाल गोहर सालिम हों तो कीमत पाते हैं.
Think about it. All the glass, all the diamonds, all the pearls, and all of us only matter when we are together.
सब शीशे शीशे सागर ला लोग हर सालिम हों तो कीमत पाते हैं. यूं टुकड़े टुकड़े हों तो फकत चुभते हैं लहू रुलवाते हैं. तुम ना हक टुकड़े चुन चुन कर दामन में छुपा बैठे हो शीशों का मसीहा को ही नहीं क्या आस लगा बैठे हो.
Thank you very much. I'm really grateful. And I would now like to request a friend who has a short poem to recite. His name is Tariq Malek. He's from Punjab, a great guy, a beautiful human, and a poet. I don't know, where is he? Oh, there he is.
You can just put some background a little bit, please. Okay. Hello. Thank you to Sansad for this opportunity. I'm going to read a very brief poem from my book, Entry, Exit, Wounds. Chinmoy Banerjee, force of nature, different maker, was a man of few words. Hence my poem is also brief. And a nod to Faz. Jis tarah band darwazon pe gire barish-e-sang. Imagine these words, these epithets, as stones hurled at your windows. Muhajir, Panagir, Paki, immigrant, refugee, wetback, FOTB. It is midnight already. Tell those who hurl these stones at my window panes, heed your words, go home. Thank you.
Well, Noah and Martin are our beautiful friends, our colleagues, our comrades. They live in our hearts. Just a day or 2 days before Chinda left us, they came and performed for him in his living room, which was so beautiful because Chin loved music, he loved art, and for him, that was probably the best treat that he even talked. A day before he died, I was visiting him and he talked about it. So I would like to request a father and a son team to inspire us with their amazing music. Well, if there is any brother or a sister who has not given in to Abi's extortionist ways, this is your time to redeem yourself and give him $35. He will not chase you home. So make sure that Abiji receives $35. He's sitting there with his eyes wide open, and he wants $35 from you. So thank you very much for your graciousness, I should say. And I would now like to invite the highlight for the evening, Lady Jams. We have a Missy D, who is an amazing blues jazz vocalist. We have Sejal Lal, who is a great violinist. And we have David Taylor, who is a great guitarist who will play with them. So,
ready? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. What do we start? Okay. Hope. You got it.
Donne-moi 1 seconde, 2 secondes, 3 secondes. You got it going on, last pose got you looking strong. Miroir, miroir, retourne-toi sur mon regard. Got me wondering qui tu es toi-même, tu sais. Aiming for the stars, je fais ma part, oublie-moi. Ou simply en retard, give me one more chance. Colle l'espérance, hope feels good, Lady Jams, elle le chante. Count my blessings with a sourire, ouais. Je dis, me voilà, me voilà, me voilà. L'espoir est là. Me voilà, me voilà, me voilà. L'espoir est là.
And can you feel what's coming? Yes, I can feel it. A revolution for hope is coming, and my head feels good. Can you feel what's coming? Yes, I can feel it. A revolution for hope is coming, and my head feels good, and my head feels good, and my head feels good. This is for the good people on the streets, fighting for what's right every day. This is to give thanks for those who marched and raised their voices for us long before we were born. This is for a future that looks so bright, but only if we learn more compassionate ways. This is for you and for me, for when it feels like too much, just remember you're not standing alone. So I have faith, I keep my head up, 'cause I got good people by my side. Look how far we've come. No, I'm not giving up this fight. So I have faith, I keep my head up, 'cause I got good people by my side. And I can see where we're going, so now I know what hope feels like. And can you feel what's coming?
Feels good.
Yes, I can feel it.
I can feel
Revolution
it.
for hope is coming.
I can feel
and my head feels good. Can you feel what's coming?
Feels good.
Yes, I can feel it.
I can feel
A revolution for hope is coming.
I can feel it.
My head feels good.
Me voilà, me
and my
voilà.
head feels good.
Me voilà, me
and my head
voilà.
feels good.
I just want to say, y'all, tonight have reminded me that, hope feels good. I'm inspired. I never had a chance to meet Uncle Chen, but I know that he's raised people that I love, my friends, and I'm inspired by all of you, everybody in this room, and I hope that you hear that in the music that we do as Lady Jams. And this song is called Hope. What does hope mean to you, Sejal?
Hope, to me, feels like feeling really grateful for the legacy that Chin Uncle has left in this room for us, for the next generation going forward as well. So, yeah.
So we hope you feel that hope, right? We hope that feel that hope, right? Like this. It goes, hope, it feels good. Do you feel it? Do you with your hopeful wings. Feel serenity when you're holding me. It goes, oh, feels good. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? I said hi, hear my prayer, young caterpillar, waiting on my wings to deliver such fine wine stored up in your cellar. Come here or hither, I be the news you report. I see I look black, I need a dollar. No dollars, give me any sign. Feeling on my spirit, oh, so divine. I hear the choir sing like la 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 la. I hear the choir sing like la 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 la. I feel the gospel, I hear the gospel. Not the ring, that's the doorbell. Yeah, young dilla, young caterpillar. Let the glory fill up like the scent of vanilla. Hope smells good, I said, do you feel it? Hope smells good, I said, do you feel it? Hope smells good, I said, do you feel it? Or do you feel it? Oh yeah, yeah. It goes, oh, feels good. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? It goes, oh, it feels good. I can feel it. I can feel it. See, hope smells good. I said, do you feel it? Do you feel it? I do. Said, hope smells good. I said, do you feel it? Yeah, da da da. I said, hope smells good. I said, do you feel it? Yeah. Hope smells good. I said, do you feel it? You feel it? You feel hope? Yes.
Alrighty.
Melanin.
Sigil wrote the next one.
No.
Oh. Okay, the hall's louder.
No, I didn't write the next one.
Oh, you
You
did?
no, Melanin?
The next one.
The next one. Shall we do? Yeah.
Okay, good.
So this next song is dedicated to folks with a little bit of melanin, maybe with a lot
There's
of
some melanin in this room, you know?
My whole life I always performed and I was like, hey, I don't see myself on that stage. And maybe one day I'm gonna see someone that looks a little bit like me. And I wanted to write a song to let them know that they're important, that whatever they see out there, that we're gonna be here together and we're gonna make a difference. And that's what Melanin is about. So I hope it resonates with you and that you feel something. Something in my melanin, I come from that resilience, made a difference. Something in my melanin, give me rise, give me shine, give me height. There's something in my melanin, rooted in color and all my features, heart, soul from my mother. Something for my melanin, makes moves and rewrites the rules. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Heard to the grapevine, this one's for you. Something for my melanin. Hey, 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 hey. There's something for my melanin. See, times I feel visible, yet invisible. Heard but not listen. No and not really know. Both different and making that difference. Something in my melon you don't like. Something in my melon don't sit right. I know my worth, it ain't in your vines. Didn't forget the serious in my lines. That black pad, little one, you see that? See, little one, you see that? There's beauty in your brown beauty, in your black beauty, in your words beauty, in your smile beauty, in your voice beauty, in your curls beauty, in your mind beauty, in your words beauty, in your melanin beauty, in your something for my melanin. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's something for my melanin. Yeah, yeah. And it goes like, ooh,
And hey, beautiful brown-skinned child, when I look in your eyes, I see a brand new day, touched by a new sunrise. Hey, beautiful brown-skinned child, when I look in your eyes, I see a brand new day, touched by a new sunrise.
There's something for my melanin. I come from that resilience, made a difference. There's something in my melanin. Give me rise, give me shine, give me high. There's something for my melanin, rooted in color and all my features. Heart, soul from my mother. Something for my melanin, makes moves and rewrites the rules. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Heard to the grapevine, this one's for you. Something for my melanin.
So this next one, actually, now that I think about it, this next one was written. It's a poem by Langston Hughes, and there's an artist in the States. His name is Ashley Bryan, children's book author and children's book illustrator. He must be like 97 or 98 years old, but he wrote a book called Sail Away. And in that book, it was all Langston Hughes poetry that he had put to pictures. I saw that book at the local library by my house that I went to as a kid. And I picked up the book and I decided to borrow it because the illustrations were just so beautiful. And reading Langston Hughes poetry with that book, there was one in particular poem by Langston Hughes called Fulfillment. And Mr. Ashley Bryan's illustrations were so beautiful, so potent that I set the poem to music right then and there. It just came out of me, and so I recorded it and turned it into a song, arranged it into a song. Around the same time, Chin Uncle actually gave me a grant to record some music through the Hari Sharma Foundation. And this is one of the tracks that's going to be on that EP when it finally comes out. Chin Uncle really, he fostered so much in the community, left such a legacy, and one of the things I think he really impressed upon so many people is the importance of art and music and culture as we're also fighting for the revolution, right? I think back on it now, I'm like, gosh, the timing of all this was just it was very encouraging for me that he granted me the grant. It wasn't even the money so much as it just was the encouragement that somebody believed in me and my art. And so, I'll play that for you today. The earth meaning, just like the sky meaning, was fulfilled. The earth meaning, just like the sky meaning, was fulfilled. We got up and went to the river, touched silver water, and laughed as we bathed in the sunshine. Oh, well, that day became a bright ball of light for us to play with, for us to play with. Oh, well, that day became a bright ball of light for us to play with, for us to play with. Ooh. Sunset, a yellow curtain became night, a velvet screen, the earth meaning, it's like the sky meaning was fulfilled. The earth meaning, just like the sky meaning, was fulfilled.
We have one last song for y'all, and it's called Lemonade, and we might need you to sing with us, so don't be shy, and we'll get to that part very soon, so let's jam a little bit.
And try the custard.
And try the custard. Shout out.
Ooh.
If it's still there.
Please save some for me.
Yes, please.
Don't try too much. Don't try too much.
Yeah, so there's that saying in English, when life gives you lemons, make some lemonade. And I think this song is about taking that hope, taking the people that you have around you, fighting the fight, marching on, living, existing, believing, and making some lemonade, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, it goes like this. Lemonade, Saturday, coming out, a brighter day. It goes like
lemonade,
lemonade, Saturday,
coming out,
it's coming out,
a brighter day, lemonade,
oh lemonade,
Saturday, coming out,
it's coming out,
a brighter day,
lemonade,
Saturday, coming out, a brighter day.
So give me lemons and I'll make your lemonade. I quench your thirst like I came here to hydrate. A seed of the population with some rhythm and some lemon. Let it be and let it John Lennon. Imagine a place with a new referendum. Me as a powerful woman, not just a woman with a fallopian in a tube. Out to get me in the nude. Not trying to be too prudent, press the mind of the subdued. Lemonade and let me make ya what I should. Hope is in the taste that it tastes so good. Hope is in the taste that it tastes so good. So that my lemonade is sweet, my lemonade is soft, my lemonade is sour, my lemonade is rock, my lemonade is life. When the going gets tough, give me them lemons. I'll make something up, call it lemonade. Saturday, coming up, a brighter day. Lemonade, Saturday, coming up, a brighter day. It goes like lemonade, 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 Saturday, coming up, it's coming up, a brighter day. Give me lemonade, lemonade, Saturday, Saturday, coming up, a brighter day.
To my women of every age, moving along on your everyday, running for the bus to get to work, hard working, don't you forget your grandmother, cooking up love before your homework. Don't you forget now just cause you're older, so spare a little compassion for that girl beside you. She's gotta deal with her own hand of cards, as our mothers did before us, as our girls will have to after. We all add our honey to the lemons that we got, and at the end of the week I get my sigh of relief. I deserve to let off my steam, so we'll cheers some lemonade to that.
So this is what we're gonna sing together, right? But it's real easy. It's only one word. You're gonna sing this with me. See, lemonade. Can you try it out for me? Is that cool? Lemonade. So we're building up. Yeah, sing it like lemonade. Sing it like. A little bit louder.
Lemonade.
A little bit louder.
Lemonade.
When life gives you lemons, you make some what?
Lemonade.
When life gives you lemons, you make some what? I'm gonna play around with them.
Lemonade.
The people to my left, y'all sing it like. The people to my right, y'all sing it like. The people in the middle, y'all sing it like. Everyone, y'all sing it like.
Lemonade.
When life gives you lemons, you make some what?
Lemonade.
When you have community, you make some what?
Lemonade.
When you have your friends, you make some what?
Lemonade.
When we have each other, you make some what?
Lemonade. Lemonade.
Woo! Yeah. Thank you for singing along. Y'all sounded beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think next time we are going to meet pretty soon in spring, and we will be then celebrating some of us who are still with us, and we would like to honor them, and we would like to bring them up here and award them with our love and respect. So we'll see you then. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for coming. Thank you for spending this evening with us. You are beautiful and love you very much.
Last time they came will play. They will play.
Yes, and we are very grateful to Lady Jams for their amazing performance, and very grateful to Martin and Noah for their amazing performance. But thankful to you. The best performance is your presence. And thank you for being there. Love you very much. Have a wonderful evening and Merry Christmas. It's coming up soon.
Thank you, Moho. And thank you, Jay and Anita, for this extraordinary privilege. that you've given me an honor to say the last words. Well, whatever. I hope they're not last words. I hope that, I hope the conversation will go on and on, right? This should be an unending conversation. Baba Sahib Ambedkar talked about annihilation of caste. Now, annihilation of caste doesn't happen in one day. It goes on and on and on. It's a continuous struggle, as all the things we do are continuous struggles, and they have to go on forever. When I first came to this country, I learned a slogan which has stayed with me, a luta continua, a Portuguese slogan which means the struggle continues. And so it must. Yes, it's a wonderful privilege, and thank you all so much for coming here. I wanted to begin by telling a little story, since all of you told stories about your lives and how you came, what caste has meant to you, and so on. So I'll tell you. My name is Chinmoy Banerjee. Anybody who knows anything about India, and I suppose most of you do, will immediately recognize this name as a good Bengali Brahmin. Bhadralok. Right? Middle class, elite, Bengali Brahmin. Yes, and I have grown up with that. We do not come into the world with caste, race, or these structures. These are parts of our socialization. We know that, right? We are socialized into human beings, part of society, through indoctrination of all kinds. And how can you grow up in a Brahmin family without a continuous awareness of your Brahmin pride? Not just Jat pride, but with your Brahmin pride and caste and the reality and the inevitability and if a fundamental structuring of the universe in terms of caste and all that sort of stuff, you grew up with that. However, there's one peculiar thing I noticed when I look back on my life, that I did not approve it. I listened to it. It was structured me, no doubt, but there was always a sense of disapproval in the sense that people like me were looked down on. A sense of discomfort remained with me. But my political awareness actually began when I left the shores of India. There is nothing like departure. Nothing like leaving. Nothing like arriving somewhere else or in being in transit to wake up. And I cannot claim to have woken up immediately. It took me, I'm not awake yet. But my first experience of awakening was when I landed in London. A friend of mine had come from Oxford to see me in London, and we went out for a drink. He took me out. And as we were walking down, a whole bunch of people went by, young people, and they said something like, "Go back where you came from, you bloody wog." Okay. What are these terms? I had no idea whatever. I had no idea what a wog was, and I had no idea why somebody would tell me to go back where I came from. I asked my friend, and he said, "Oh, they're just racists." Okay. We went to a pub. We went into a pub, and we were told, "Why don't you go upstairs? It's quieter there." My friend said, "Okay, let's go." I said, "Let's go." He said, "You know why? What that was? Because he doesn't want us to sit with the others." So I said, "Okay." He was telling me, educating me on racism. And I said, "Listen, yeah, okay, that seems not nice. But at the same time, who am I to complain? I have grown up in a family in which I have seen people being excluded, people being considered not untouchable, who cannot be admitted into your room, and so on. Who am I to complain about this? Now, I learned to complain about this. but this was a moment that shook me up, really. I was a young man, nonchalant. You always get better in the world by being nonchalant. But anyway, it shook me up. And I began to think, and it's only from that moment on, and coming to the US, through displacement, I began to understand where I had come from and how I had been structured. My political awareness began by being displaced. So I am a displaced person. I am happy about it because it woke me up. And coming to Canada, coming to the US, learning from other students, another amazing thing, that you can challenge your country. Now, I grew up in this thing, country, man. It's a great thing, you live in this country, it's your country, patriotism and all that sort of stuff. I come to the US and I find my fellow students shouting slogans against their president, shouting slogans against their country, demonstrating against US imperialism in Vietnam. Wow, what is all this? This is possible. Another educational experience for me, profoundly educational. So I came to the US and learned to be anti-imperialist. And then I came to Canada, which made me more anti-imperialist. So yes, there has been an awakening, and the awareness of caste and the awareness of race came to me at the same time, and both came because of displacement. So we need to displace ourselves from where we are. We need to fundamentally displace ourselves. And the deconstruction that is essential to this annihilation of caste has to be a fundamental displacement. So I'm really happy that we have evolved to this state. The word evolution is bad, I know, except in a scientific sense, but we have changed. For a few years ago, for a long time, Jay and Samir, that is Chetna and the Institute for the Humanities, were doing Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Lecture in Simon Fraser University, Burnaby campus, up in the library room. 2016, Hari Sharma Foundation decided to do a Gurcharan Singh Memorial Lecture in Vancouver, and we invited Anand Teltumle. And that's it. I thought, well, why don't we then contact Chetna, Jay, and do Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Lecture and Gurcharan Singh Memorial Lecture at the same time in Surrey. So we did that. That act of collaboration became the start of a larger collaboration. From that developed a planning group, a planning committee for a Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Lecture as an annual event, which we thought we would take out, make it wider, take it away, bring it down from the mountain, from Burnaby Mountain into Surrey and UBC, and so that's what we did. From 2016 on, we have been doing this, and it has evolved into this situation today, where UBC has had a wonderful lecture. We had a great event on Burnaby campus, and we had this absolutely amazing event today. And not only that, I understand we also did one in Davis. Davis has also had a Dr. Ambedkar Memorial Lecture. So this is growing. This is going to the people. People are coming to it. I'm so glad it has come to where it is, and I hope it will grow more and more.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.